Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Hartley. This podcast exists to equip and inspire your heart-centered leadership. Every week, we bring interviews with some of the greatest heart sets and mindsets on the planet. I hope the heartprint of our time spent together is that it creates new possibilities for you and all those you come into contact with. If you'd like to explore what we could make possible for you, then head to abty.co.uk/connect and book in a free 30-minute call to begin our journey together. I just want to express a huge amount of gratitude to our sponsors, Exhale Coffee. I have been a big fan of Exhale Coffee since meeting Alex and the team back in 2022. Exhale is the first coffee to be sourced, roasted and lab tested specifically to maximize its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory potency. An independent lab test has shown that 1 cup of Exhale Coffee has the same antioxidant power as 1.8 kilos of blueberries or 55 oranges. I'm a huge fan, and Mrs. H loves the decaf, especially because she knows that Exhale use the mountain water decaffeination process, which uses only pure glacial water from the highest mountain in Mexico and no nasty chemicals. Simply head to exhalecoffee.com/ABTY for your special offer. And lastly, before I introduce this week's guest, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would really help us leave a greater heartprint on this world. On episode 266, I welcome Tzachi Ozeri to the podcast. Tzachi is the author of Monk vs. Monkey Mind, Becoming Aware of Your Thoughts to Manifest the Life of Your Dreams. And that is what Tzachi did for himself. He went from homeless to manifesting his dream life by taking responsibility for his own life. He was able to change his focus from the why to the how, which helped him to reprogram his subconscious mind and create new habits for a new reality. Tzachi doesn't regard himself as a guru or a know-it-all. His ideas and life approach were forged by living life to the max and trying to make sense of it all. It's episode 266 with Tzachi Ozeri. Tzachi, welcome to Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you, brother?
I'm pretty good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Very good to see you, mate. Very good to see you. I know that since the last time you and I talked, you've had some conversations with some of my great friends. Nick on the Book Thinkers podcast. I see you've been on Justin's Spread Love Movement, and it's an honor to welcome you to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, mate.
Yeah, things are great. I can't complain, to be honest. Things are progressive in a way that I would like to progress, and I'm being invited for lots of podcasts. So yeah,
great.
I'm doing my thing,
Where are you in the world at the moment?
I'm in New York. I'm in New York. I've been here for 14 years. I moved from Israel to New York 14 years ago. And yeah, I love it here.
There's a bit going on in your motherland at the moment, isn't there? What was life like growing up in the motherland?
To be honest, although things are bad now, but it's kind of normal, to be honest.
Right.
If you want to go deeper, I feel there is Israel and the Middle East are being used in order to move things around in the world, as like Ukraine and Russia and Asia. So it's all the same for the same reason, which is finance and power. And, we suffer because of that. And to see how people are being separated because of an opinion and need to choose a side, it's really sad. Because I think people are not asking the right questions. I think people are being used and manipulated by the media, especially. Right. And if you listen to the media, then you will have an opinion, and probably the opinion is going to be separate than the other one, which is sad. I don't think people know exactly what's going on and what's the reason what's the reason of what's behind all of the things that's happening in Middle East all over the world. But and I think it's sad because I see people and I feel bad for them, to be honest.
I'm a generally trusting guy of people, but there's certainly things that went on during the last sort of 4 years with the pandemic that made me open my eyes to the fact that I will never trust the media again.
Yeah.
Quite often, whatever comes out is I think we need a level of discernment to, where we take our information from, and not be so quick to take on a perspective, not be so quick to take on a side, because if there's anything I've learned, all is not as it seems.
Yeah, it's not. And I'm telling you, for somebody who's been in Gaza and been in the situation, um, both sides are doing something wrong. Both sides are handling stuff or know stuff that we don't know, and acting accordingly. And what the media is doing right now is basically manipulating it in their way, and then we need to pick a side. And it's sad because both sides are suffering. To be honest,
Mm,
even Palestinian sides and the Israeli side for no reason.
yeah.
Tell me one person that doesn't want to live in peace. Tell me one person that doesn't want to live in peace. Why do we need to have this fight now in 2024 when each person has his own land? If Gaza was supposed to be a country and should be a country, there's another 190 something countries in UN that can vote for it.
Mm,
Why they never did, and why still they're not doing it? So those questions, for people not to ask those questions, like Israel is just one country of many countries that can vote
mm,
for the Palestinian, and nobody's doing it. So, but for some reason, the Israeli are to blame. With
mm,
that being said, somebody who was in Gaza, I'm telling you from experience, and it was 24 years ago, that this fence that was broke down on October 7 was never would have broke down 20 years ago. And for that, it's kind of amazing to me because the technology that we have now compared to what it was before
mm,
is 2 times better. So for
mm,
them to not knowing that it's coming, or not to see that it's coming, or not be protected from this, it's Israel, it's the Mossad,
mm.
it's the government. We know that. They have the information. If they didn't act, that is the question that need to ask: why they didn't act.
So let's bring the focus back into you, because I'm not able to to bring about harmony to the world politics, but I can
Yeah,
inspire whoever's listening by sharing you and your story. And so, did you when did you leave the motherland? Did you grow up? Did you go to school? Did you work in Israel? What was your early
yeah.
career?
So I, I somebody that like everybody struggle a lot. But I think I've been through all the stage of struggles. If this emotionally abused or sexually abused or physical abuse, I did drugs for a long time. When I started doing drugs from like 25 till 38, I've been homeless
Mm,
because of my choices and because of my parents' reality. So I've been through a lot, and growing up in Israel, it felt like a normal to be in this kind of struggle,
right.
because the circle that's been around my family and the people that were around us was kind of hard to see it as not as a normal. Even like you asked me before, it's you've been in Israel in the situation that going on right now. It's kind of a normal, which is
Mm,
sad because it shouldn't be like this,
mm.
and we get the perception that it is normal, and that's why we live in the way we live instead of acting or doing something in order to change it.
Why America? Why was that the place that you set sail for?
So I came here once. I actually thought I'm going to end up in UK, London, but I came here once to for vacation, shopping,
Mhm.
New York, and as soon as I step into this land, I just felt this massive energy that I couldn't explain what it was, and it just grow and grow while I was here. And I told my uncle I'll be back. And the opportunity arose, and he found something that I can do here, and call me, come, and I came, and I never left.
So you're the author of two books, and you just talked about all the traumas, the experiences, and I'd love to unpick how someone goes through those experiences to then become an author, to then become someone that's speaking on podcasts. Like you must, like, I really, when we talk about heart-centered leadership, one of the most powerful tools within our toolkit is our identity, right? It's who we believe that we are. Um, and I think when you've gone through so many external life events, some of that can get very muddy. Some of that can get very, well, you can lack clarity. And I guess, how do you reflect on like who is Tzachi? Like who is he now? Who has he learned he is? Who has he had to unlearn that he isn't? Let us into who is Tzachi.
So for a long time, I didn't think that my parents give me any values, and to be honest, I was holding to somebody else.
Mm.
I guess value. My driver instructor once told me before even starting the car, "What do you see in front of you?" And I was, you know, there was a car in front of me, so that's what I was looking at. So I said, "No, look ahead, look further, look, all around to see the big picture, because that's where you
Mm.
can either stop before the other car stops or see things or move to a different lane and stuff like that." So this is something that I took with me for a long time till this day.
Mm.
And what changed me to see that I actually have some values for my parents was a mindset that I am having right now. Feeling that their hard work, now it's my work. They're not giving up on their, you know,
Mhm, mhm.
life, me not giving up. So those things changed when I started to change my mindset.
Mm.
And I now see and understand, forgive, trust, or accept, or take responsibilities.
The reason I'm smiling is because you've just said those words with such just, it's just acceptance, it's just trust, it's just forgiveness. And sometimes these small words can be some of the biggest tasks to do in our heart. Like, oh, just forgive your parents, just accept life and just accept the. And, I'd love to know, some of the you know the the how behind some of those things that you've had to do. When we look at our parents, it's incredible when we start to realize the gift that they've given us, but often they've given us quite a bit of pain and suffering, and so often we can generate a set of values that is often the opposite of maybe what they taught us. So I guess the acceptance is the integration of both. Here's all the goodness and here's all the stuff that's good that's come from the bad.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of way to answer this question, and I will try to give you
Mm.
examples. The first thing that changed my mindset and was able to look at things the way I'm looking right now is the fact that I found a mission, which
Mm.
is life. There is a difference between life and existing. When you focus on existing, which we all do, we focus on the needs of having a house, or the needs of getting a car, the need of getting clothes. So we're very needy. So we're not looking at the possibility that somebody else did something because of a situation, or
Mm.
maybe even go back before that, the parents did the same thing, and there's some sort of pattern in between. But when you have a life and mission, then things are changing. You don't need things the way you need it. Yes, you do still need to nurture your body, you still need to, if you want, have a house or apartment or car, but it's not as needy as it was when you didn't have this mission, the purpose, the
Mm.
goal. Now, what helped me to realize it is actually my third book. My third book, which is coming out very soon this summer, called The Tree of Life. I was basically able to face myself in the mirror and see the similarity that I have with my parents.
Yeah.
Like, how did I get to where I am? How did I get to being homeless? What was I'm running from? So if I go back to my story, I can see similarities between me and my parents, and then I can see
Mm.
similarity with my parents and my grandparents. So there's a you need to track down this pattern in order to basically understand your parents,
Yeah.
why they made those decisions. And this is basically what I did. I went back in order to figure out the how and move forward and
Mm.
accept and forgive and understand. Not even
Yeah.
trying to change it, because can change the past,
Yeah.
but you can accept where they are right now, because my mom is still stuck in the past, right?
Sure.
I can't change that. I can maybe try to give her some advice, but people are usually stuck, like my mom,
Mm.
will say yes, but will not actually act, because they already gave up on their life in a way. They don't see the ability to change
Mm.
from what they are right now. So
Mm.
what I can do is be happy. What I can do, I can progress in my area or my industry, so she can have some sort of, happiness that she did something good.
Yeah, you talk a lot about manifestation, and there's a phrase in the old manifestation circle that says, "Where focus goes, energy flows." And if your focus is constantly in the past, guess where your energy is? It's in the
Yeah,
past. It's not available to you in the present, and that's such a sadness for so many people. They're operating out of a storytelling machine. They make of the past, and I've been there, you've been there, we've all been there, but I guess what it comes down to is we have to learn how to advance in our awareness so that we're not being controlled by that level of programming. That old phrase, I love that it's called Tree of Life, because what they say is the apple never falls far from the tree. I don't know if that's
yeah,
just a British saying or what, but it's that idea that you're just like your parents in some way. And I think there's a degree of peace to that, right? Because sometimes, for me, it's like you can go to war with that aspect. People used to say to me, like when I grew up, "Oh, you're just like your dad," and like all I ever heard was bad things about the guy. Like, why would I want to be just like
yeah,
my dad? So you almost then you're out of harmony. You're rejecting part of yourselves, and if the yin and the yang is in perfect harmony and balance, you can't go to war with yourself, like because there will never be any peace.
yeah,
And the thing that I've really found is that I don't need to hide and wrestle away my darkness. I just have to come to face and go, well, no shit. He's my dad. She's my mum. They got gifts, skills, talents, flaws, weaknesses, traumas. If I've got them, they've got them. And then when you start to understand that, you go, okay, well, there's no surprise I am the way I am, but I also get to choose who I want to be. And
yeah.
there's another level of peace for that, because you're not running, you're not at war, you're not fighting. Instead, you gain access to this opportunity to create and choose who you want to be.
Yeah, and I think the only freedom that we have is the freedom of choice. To be honest,
Right,
the
right,
rest of,
right.
said again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So, and it goes back to the, we spoke about this before, the Adam and Eve story, which is all
Yeah,
about choice, to choose to eat from the apple, not to choose from the apple. And I think the story itself just give a lot of value to, if you want to understand the story, if you want to read the story, if you like the story, then there's this, the story has so many things inside of it, which I wrote down in my third book, that can bring a lot of clarity in today's world, in the reality that
yeah,
we live in right now. And if we understand that the only thing that we have in life is the freedom of choice, uh, it'd be easier for us to choose right,
yeah,
and not to stop choosing the same thing over and over again, expecting a
yeah.
different result.
Yeah, I really agree. I really like what you just said, because the thoughts I'm having as you speak is the because you talked about need, and that's what the serpent does in the story. This is my interpretation and takes from, right. The serpent is able to make Adam and Eve make a decision out of the belief that they are lacking, that they are
Yeah,
separate from, and they make decisions based on their who they believe they are and what that truth to them in that moment, and they make a decision based on what they believe in that moment. Right? I lack, I do not have. Therefore, if I take this thing outside of me, I will get everything I need. It's a great
and
lie.
yeah, and I want to point something out with Adam and Eve, and it's again, it's so related to today's, to our world, society, and everything. They question, right? They question God by, what if I'm going to eat the
Yeah, yeah,
apple?
yeah, 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 yeah.
What if? And that's what we all are, and stuck with a what if. And that's why
Mm.
we sometimes afraid to make those choices that should actually, the risks that Adam and Eve took, we sometimes afraid to take this risk because it's a risk. We don't want to, be like Adam and Eve and get thrown from heaven or from wherever we are right now with our life, and we stuck. We staying against the wall instead of trying to go forward or move forward, take the risk like Adam and Eve. And this is the situation we live in now in our society, in our days, in our mind right now.
Mm. The psalmist wrote in Psalm 23, he says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need." And I think that is if that's not part of your mindset affirmation work, then anyone listening needs to try and find the time to insert that in their heart and their mind. I have all that I need, I lack nothing. Because we live in a world that is constantly trying to appeal to our sense of lack. So Johan Hari's book Lost Connections, right? It's all about depression, and in it he interviewed a marketing exec, and the marketing exec said, "Our marketing is at its best when people are left to feel inadequate without the product." You just think there is a war zone in all of the marketing that we see from the minute we wake up, and it's designed to make consumers of us. And it first has to make us feel like we lack or inadequate. That if we can just have something outside of us, happiness in a meal, beauty in a product, energy in a drink, hey, come and get these things, and then you will be full. And it's a lie as old as Adam and Eve's time with the serpent.
Yeah. The only way for us to be fulfilled is by finding our passion, I think, finding our goals and loving what we do,
Mm,
loving ourselves. Um, for a long time, I've been learning how to love myself.
mm,
I've been alone and choose to be alone just because I figured out I need to learn myself, learn about what I love to do, date myself, do
mm,
things differently, not be, you know, forced to get or forced or choose to go to a relationship knowing that it's going to fail because I will give love to this person expecting them love in return
yeah,
when
yeah,
I don't love myself. So how can
yeah.
I measure this love from the other person? How much it will be enough? And sometimes, it's just getting the other person either um, feeling like they choking because you're trying so much and they, you know, feel in a corner and
Mm.
trying to move forward or move on from you. But yeah.
What was the biggest barrier to you receiving that love? Because I have an issue with the self-love narrative of the world because it says, "Hey, just give yourself more love," but no amount of self-love will ever account for an internal voice or an internal belief of worthiness that just isn't there. It'll almost be like, "Well, who are you?" You've got an internal judge that says, "That's not who you are. You're not able to. You're not that person." So the love never sticks. It's like putting the self-love into a bucket that's got holes in. It's constantly being emptied by this internal belief that I am not that. I am less worthy. And that comes from programming. So sometimes like more self-love is sometimes less self-judgment, less self-rejection. What was your story? What was your experience? Like, how did you come to receive that love with which maybe you once haven't experienced?
Um, a few things. First of all, I face myself in the mirror, like I said,
Mm.
and I see and I ask myself what exactly, because everybody is in the beginning want to change the physical of ourselves to see, like, I'm not feeling good about myself because of that.
Yeah.
I'm not looking good, and I was, as funny as it sounds, like I was low self-esteem.
Mm.
Looking back now in my pictures, thinking if I had the same mindset that I have today, man, I was good looking. I'm sorry to be cocky, but I was very good looking, and I had so much hair. Um, but it took time for me to understand what can I change. If it's
Yeah.
physical, what can I change? What can I do in order to change? Is there anything I need to change? And trying to figure out what love means to me. What do
Mm.
I need in order to feel loved? Is it money? Is it girl? Is it feedback? Is it just my mind to feel bad about what I'm doing? And most likely, if you find your goal and your
Mm.
mission, you in somehow, some way, you start to love yourself because you're doing something progressive. You cut people off, people that make you feel unhappy helps. That includes family. If you need to step back from your family, take step back from your family in order to find yourself and date yourself and
Mm.
figure it out yourself. Because in the end of the day, if you find value in yourself, people will value you. If you find
Right.
love yourself, you get enough love from wherever it is. If you
Yeah.
respect yourself, you're gonna people respect you. If you don't want to get cheated by somebody, stop cheating yourself. Because if you are getting involved in a relationship when you know that you're not happy, you're cheating.
Mm.
So don't expect not to be cheated by the other person. And that's what it takes time. It doesn't take a minute. It took me a while. but it's figuring out what's the hole, how
Mhm.
deep it is, and then fix it in a way. Do things that helps. Is it meditation, sleep meditation? If it's hot yoga, hot yoga. I didn't like to go to yoga, and still today I don't like doing yoga. But the hot yoga just put you in a mindset that you have to find some stillness no matter what.
Mm.
And it's nothing to do with the other person doing a posture that you can. It's all about you composing your breathe. And sometimes we just don't understand that the breathing that we're breathing right now might be very fast. And because of
Mhm.
that, our reaction to things are very fast. If you can slow it down and slow down the game of life, then
Mm.
there are much more uh, opportunities for you to realize what you're lacking at and fix
Mm.
it.
You said about a hole, and I have a belief that there is nothing of this world that can fill that hole. It's not of this world, it's of the spiritual dimension, whether that be God, Jesus, universe, whatever people have the word for it. I believe that there's a higher power that is only able to fill that hole. What's your perspective? What's your perspective on the filling of such hole?
Um, you know, we talk about, you just mentioned God. I feel, and I don't know if somebody said it or I just invented this sentence, but God gives those who give themselves. So if you can't find a way to give yourself, then you're not going to get anything from God or from the other person or from your family. So find a way to give yourself what you want. If it's, and people are going to go to the physical thing, but it's not physical. It's something inside of you. It's something that inside of your mind that's lacking. So find what it is in order to, again, fix it, change it, tweak it, help yourself before you can help somebody else.
Mm.
Because if you
You,
help somebody else before you help yourself, and he's not going to help you back, you're going to feel used.
yeah. Well,
So
and the
what?
opposite is I need something from someone. If I need something from someone, I'm doing things out of likely of need, lack, want, coercion, manipulation start to sneak in, jealousy, and all these kind of like lower vibe states of, less than love, less than service, and needing something. And that's why it really is a true act of giving yourself first, so that you may come from the fullness rather than from the manipulation, coercion, transactional side of things.
Yeah, and I think one of the key for me was, how much do you want it? Like, how much do you want it? How much do I want not to be homeless again? How much do I want to help people? How much do I want, whatever it is that I'm
Mm.
building? And there is some sort of sacrifice that need to be done. If you need to cut some people off, you need time for yourself, if you need some sort of find some responsibilities that helps you, or figured out responsibility, what does it mean to you, responsibilities. So yeah, it's so many things. It's not just one way. It's so many ways, and it's like diet. You just need to figure out which diet is working for you, which way works for you, in order for you to feel better about yourself. And to be honest, it's not a it's never going to stop, because you're always going to find something, and you're always going to tweak things, and you're only going to change things in order to feel better. Because let's say I'm not in a relationship right now, but if I get in and I see that the relationship doesn't work, why does it work? Because it's not because of the other person, it's because of me. What do I need to change in myself so that will feel right?
Mm. Yeah, you're talking a lot about taking agency, having power of your life, and taking responsibility. And I think by the sounds of it, you've had enough life experience to live a life of a victim, right? Everything's happened to you. You're a victim of your circumstances. It's not your fault. Um, have you always taken responsibility, or was there a moment where you thought, "Oh shit"?
So, like I said, my dad, I think I didn't say actually, my dad wasn't there for at least 20 years of my life.
Mhm,
At least in my mind, he wasn't there.
mhm,
Now, if I look back now with my mindset right now, I realize that he was there, but not as much as I would like him to be, but he was there when I was a kid. Now,
sure.
but there was a moment 20 years later that we started to talk consistently, and we started to do things consistently. And he did something again that disappointed me. And I did something that made him call me and said, let's meet up. Let's have a talk, chat. And that's when he took responsibility of his life and the
Mm,
realities that he built for us. And that's what made me understand responsibilities, not the army, my dad, because I was in the army, and the army shows you responsibility too, but the dad was the emotion part, but to help me to
mm,
understand how important is responsibility in life.
mm. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. You've written two books, Fuck Your Past and Monk versus Monkey Mind. Third book's on the way, Tree of Life. In the first book, you share a story about an interaction with a lady back when you were 22 at a bus stop. I'd love to
Yeah.
know more about that interaction. That sounds absolutely fascinating. Share with us that story if you don't mind.
So after the army, I tried to change my grade or upgrade my grade in order to get to university. Because again, that's something that my mom never, because of the reality that they built, my mom passed on going to university. She was, but she quit in the
Mm,
middle because she had
mm,
to work instead of or wasn't able to finish university. So for her, for us to be in university was the mission, which I tried, but it didn't work out for me. But I took a class, which was a night class. And when I finished the class, I was standing in a bus stop, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody was in the class and other classes was in the same bus stop. And the lady was crossing and was asking me about if one of the buses just passed. And I said, yes. So she gave me a card, which is basically a card that um, for the bus, a daily card. But in Israel, they tag it in woman or female or male.
yeah.
And when she gave it to me, I said, "Look, thank you, but I can't use it because this is a female and I'm a male, and I also have my own card. I don't really need it, but thank you." So she turned around and said to me, "Look, you're very specific, very detailed. What's your name? What's your name and what's your date of birth?" I say, "Wait, what?" Just give me your date of birth. And when she gave me, when I gave her my date of birth, she started to say everything about me. Like I was like, "Are you a spy?" Because she went back to my parents and told me things that nobody knows. Really,
Mm,
nobody knows. Um, and one of the things she told me is, if you want your life to change, find a way to put an A in your name. Now, in Hebrew, my name is 3 letters, and you can't put an A because it doesn't make any sense. But then I realized that in English, I have an A. I can put an A and have an A when I spell my name. So from that day, I only spelled my name in English.
yeah.
And to be honest, it's also kind of a sign for me to be not in Israel, to be in a different country that use spelling in English, which could be UK or
Yeah. Yeah.
US, but ended up in US.
How do I pronounce your name in Hebrew?
Tzachi.
How do you
Yeah.
look back at that interaction? 22 years of age is very philosophical in its interaction. Like, how do you look back at that time now? What do you think the meaning of it was? Like, how do you think she even did those things? Like, what is that really? What's the
So
ripple effect of that interaction?
first of all, I was, I called my mom and said, "This is unreal." But to be
Mm,
honest, now, like I said, look at it now. That was a sign for me not to be in Israel. That was
mm,
basically a sign for me not to be in Israel. I feel there's a lot of signs along the way that we just think is just there or
mm.
not paying attention. Because if I look back, and if my mom was paying attention to me and not
Yeah,
being consumed by the reality and trying to put food on the table,
yeah,
she will probably realize that I'm a writer a long time ago. Because there is a lot of uh, um, opportunities that showed that I'm a writer. And if only my mom wasn't consumed with,
mm,
whatever she consumed till today, she might probably will figure this out and push me towards writing. And I
mm.
will be probably a writer a long time ago. My dad as well wrote a script.
Yeah,
He passed away 2 years ago, but he wrote a script in 1990 and kept it on in the closet for a long time till he knew that I'm, about to write my first book. And if there is there's also a sign that my dad was a writer, right? My
mm.
dad was a writer. It can be I'm a writer too, but because he never pursue it
Yeah.
and put it in the closet, uh, you know, nobody knows about it now.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm doing now with my dad's script, which I translate to English and now trying to bring it to the big screen, in order to honor him, nobody will do this for him. People, if it wasn't for me, probably my parents or my siblings will just trash it, put it in the trash, and that's it. But I feel there's something to be done, and there is a value in a script
Mm,
that can be in a big screen. Hopefully, will be in a year or two.
powerful. And I just think sometimes, there are people listening here with spiritual gifts, right? Whatever that lady had, whether she was an angel in this lifetime to you, it doesn't really matter, because ultimately she had the courage to say and ask particular questions. She was fully present with you in that moment. She shared something that was very courageous, because you could look at that and go, you weirdo, like, why are you talking to me about this at a bus stop? And yet it fundamentally changed the trajectory of your life. That's the significant of these seemingly insignificant moments.
Yeah, I had the same, but I had another person in New York. I was sitting in the car and he knocked on my window, and I had the same reaction and the same kind of interaction with him when he told me everything that's going to happen to me. At that time, I was consumed with drugs, so I didn't pay attention to it so much. But he said
Right.
the same thing like her, which helped me, now to understand where my path should go and will go, and yeah,
Well, it's being courageous enough to listen to that, isn't it? It's listening to that and then taking steps and actions in line with that. It's very, very powerful. You sent me one of your books, and in the cover you wrote something very, very powerful, and I'd love to know your perspective on what you mean by it. You said this: remember, the most important light is the light you cannot see.
yeah. So there's a Netflix show. To be honest, you caught me off guard. I forgot the name of the show, but it's they mentioned this sentence, and it just I got I felt connection with the sentence, and then the whole idea of this is about most of us feel that we are in the dark, and we
Mm,
can't see the light, and it's actually where we actually need to push forward instead of just standing still or doing nothing about it. And I feel this sentence itself says a lot. And I'm going to give you another one
mm,
that I heard in Instagram. It goes, give me 1 second. Sometimes we feel like we are buried when actually we've been planted.
mm. Yeah, and
And
it's sometimes when those words just sink deep into our kind of being, where we just, like I just did then, there's a deep breath in. It's like, oh, because there are many times when I guess we get to that point, and I guess there's many times where you felt that you've been buried by the weight of the light. How did this process then? I'd love to like kind of draw this story to a nice conclusion to the present day, which is trauma, leave your country, you're finding your way, you become homeless. Like, how did you rebuild, Zaki?
that's, again, that goes back to my parents, because they were in the dark place as well. They were homeless as well. But I think the difference between me and them, they have 4 kids, so that was the drive for them to move, keep going, and try to figure it out. For me, it was the mentality that they gave me just helps me to figure things out. Because at the end of the day, and it's okay to be like this. You can help somebody else build their dream, but you need to
Mm-hmm.
be happy doing so. And if you
Mm,
feel that you're not happy building somebody else's dream, that you need to figure it out how to do it yourself or do it better or find something else that you will love to do. And at that moment that I was homeless, I basically had a industry that I knew how to run,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't do it because I didn't want to lose my friends. So in
Mm,
the end of the day, you look yourself in the mirror and said, do you want friends or you want to be homeless? And
mm,
I chose not to be homeless. I chose to, yes, I might lose my friends, but at the same time, I'll be in a better position than I am right now and probably find a new friends or be alone. Doesn't matter to me. I just don't want to be where I am right now, which is, you know, bottom ground. Nobody wants to be homeless. Nobody wants to not have an apartment and come to the apartment and enjoy the apartment and watching TV or relax or sleep in a bed instead of sleeping in a car. So, or sleeping in sofas, somebody else's sofas. So, in the end of the day, you just to make the choice that you actually want. And what's more important, is it them or you? And I chose myself. I bet on myself till this day.
Yeah, there's a powerful bit here at the end of Fuck Your Past, which is all about, what you're born to do, knowing yourself, the joy of creating yourself, experiencing who you really are. And who you are is who you create yourself to be in relationship to the rest of the world. That's it. Powerful. That's life completed, done in one paragraph.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Experience who we are, create who we are. How do you hope to inspire and nudge other people along on this journey to experience and create who they are?
Because we are here to create. We are here to serve, either serve our clients, serve our people. Um, Sometimes we feel like you used by serving, but again, if you find your niche, then the serve will not feel used, and you're not going to work hard because you work joyful. You do something that you love, so it's not going to feel like you're working at all. It's just a matter of what is it that you want to do or love to do. And again, you can love building somebody else's dream as long as you love doing it. Otherwise, you're going to feel used and miserable building somebody else's dream. It's okay. I've been there. And the reason why I quit being there is because they didn't see value in me. And that's where my journey had to begin, to find value in myself in order to be able to be where I am today, and sharing my story and believing that my story has value. That you know it's self-belief. I believe that my story has a value. I believe that I can change things by sharing my story, or I can do things with my hopefully my foundation one day that I have planned, and it's on the shelf. I just not ready to do it yet. I need to build some sort of brand. I need to build my name. I need to people to believe that I can do this, or help me do this, because I believe I can do this. I just help me do this in a network, or financially, or any other thing that you know um, in the category of the foundation. But
Bring it
yeah,
to life. Where can people connect with you? Where can they find out more about your work?
Instagram, mostly Instagram at the moment. Yeah, like I said, I do have Instagram, but I like to do more than being on Instagram. So probably going to see me on podcasts and stuff like that. That would be ideal. And books, you can find my book, and my third book going to be in the summer. So expect that very soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much, brother, for your time. Thank you so much for your energy. I have a word here, always better than yesterday. It's called Heartprint. And the word really symbolizes the ripple effect that we have in this lifetime, much like that lady had on you and when you were 22. It's the things that we make possible for other people. It's the legacy that we leave behind. You talk about your work, your foundation, your story. Tzachi, I'd love for you to reflect on what you hope your heartprint will be.
I think I'm going to share my goal. My goal is one day, if somebody who looking for a second chance, if it's going to be a homeless or somebody else, we're looking for $1, to be honest. I want to be able to have the ability to give them a choice, which means, do you want $1 or $5, or do you want me to change your life? And be able to do so. And that's where running foundation, or anything that I will be involved, going to give me this opportunity to do so. And not just wealth. It just, you can have a network of people that that you can, hey, I have this guy. Can you help me out? He needs some help. I want to have that one. I want to have that kind of power one day, and be able to change people's life physically, not just by talking.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Tzachi, thank you so much for your time, brother. We'd be honored if you'd leave us a final thought from your good self.
Control, it's an illusion. You can't control anything in life. Only control choices. The choices is what drive us. Either you can make a successful choice, or you make unsuccessful choices. But both of them you make successfully. So choose the right choice, or learn from the unsuccessful so you can be successful one day. But yeah.
Love it. Have a great day, brother.
You too. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Hey, my friends, thank you for making it to the end. I hope that our time spent together today has left you a little bit better than before you push play. I'd really appreciate if you just took a moment to leave a review to allow me to meet more people where they are and hopefully leave them a little bit better too. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organisation, then head to alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com to connect. And while you're there, let me know 1 or 2 things that you're going to do as a result of listening to this conversation. I absolutely love hearing your thoughts, your reflections, and the things that this spark in your own heart and mind. If you want more insights from my heart and mind, I do send out short episodes on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and again, I hope that they serve you well. I appreciate you listening. I'm Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, a podcast for heart-centered leaders just like you. Keep leading, my friends. Always love.